D23 is just right around the corner, and that means there's going to be a whole lot of new news and announcements coming up for the Disney parks. This year especially is going to be huge, mainly because of Disney's main competitor, Universal Studios. Universal Epic Universe at Universal Studios Florida Resort is opening next year to the public in 2025, while Universal Studios Hollywood is opening their exclusive spinning coaster, Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift, in 2026. As we've seen in the past, Disney is very reactionary. Usually when Universal makes a move, that's when Disney starts playing their cards correctly. However, a lot more stuff is going to be happening outside of just Disneyland and Disney World. There are also the international Disney parks, as well as the potential new additions to the Disney cruise lines. So without further ado, let's start off with my predictions of Walt Disney World. Even though the entire experience panel is named after a popular defunct attraction, Horizons, with a giant sun that looks extremely similar to Spaceship Earth, I think Epcot is going to have a fairly small section in this upcoming panel. The park spent the last half a decade surrounded by construction walls and equipment, on top of the fact that Disney has already spent maybe around $2 billion on the park as it is. I really don't think Disney is going to announce anything major like new projects or attractions. It wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense since they have a whole lot of other projects in the work for Walt Disney World. If anything, I think Disney will announce something like, the progress of Test Track 3.0, and then, say something like, oh, Epcot is only the beginning, with the expansion to our other world-class experiences just beyond the horizon, or something beyond those lines. Cringe, I know, but I really do think that's the reason why they named the experience panel Horizons. Not because of the ride, but because of the expansions coming to the Disney parks are just over the horizon. If any park is getting put in the limelight, it is for sure going to be Animal Kingdom. For the last couple of years, Animal Kingdom has been one of the worst performing parks at the Walt Disney World Resort. Not to mention the park also has 0 large-scale shows and the least amount of rides compared to the rest of the parks around the resort. On top of that, Disney has apparently been working on building a new Imagineering area just to the right of Animal Kingdom. So because of this, I really do think Animal Kingdom will be the main focal point of the Walt Disney World Resort section of the panel. This is where they will announce things like the replacement to Dinoland, which includes but is not limited to the new Encanto attraction, as well as the re-themed dinosaur ride into Indiana Jones. Now here's some really crazy info that for some reason everyone always gets wrong. If Disney does re-theme dinosaur into Indiana Jones, it is 100% impossible for it to be a clone of the version in Anaheim. Not only for thematic reasons, since the ride is supposed to take place in the tropics and not India, but because it's physically impossible to install. I know every YouTuber and TikToker on the planet says stuff like, oh, Indiana Jones and Dinosaur had the same track, blah, 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 but they're either extremely misinformed or are lying to you. In reality, Dinosaur and Indiana Jones have similar tracks, but they are not the same. About 30% of the track is different, with the first minute of each ride being substantially different from each other. If that's not jaw-dropping, then listen to this. Indiana Jones can fit into Dinosaur, but Dinosaur cannot physically fit into But Dinosaur cannot physically fit into Indiana Jones. Interesting, huh? Going back to Animal Kingdom, I think Disney will take this opportunity to announce another large-scale show for the stadium area right in front of Expedition Everest. Shows naturally keep people in the park, so it would make sense for Disney to invest into a new show if they're planning to expand the park with new rides and attractions. This show will most likely be a morning time show. I really don't think they're going to install a nighttime spectacular again, mainly because the park needs to close early for the animals, so it's probably going to be something similar to like the kite show, but not as boring. Disney's Hollywood Studios is a tough one. I really don't see Disney adding anything to this park anytime soon. Toy Story Land is incredibly popular, along with Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, Rise of the Resistance, Tower of Terror, and Rock and Roller Coaster when it works. On top of that, they also have Fantasmic with a working dragon, rest in peace Murphy, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to add additional things to the park. Maybe a new show or a themed event inside of the abandoned Star Wars Launch Bay area, But outside of that, I really don't see anything happening with Disney's Hollywood Studios for the next couple of years. The Magic Kingdom, however, will get one of the biggest and probably one of the most controversial changes at D23, and that is the closure of the Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer's Island. Disney has already stated last D23 that they're interested in expanding beyond Big Thunder Mountain with extra lands and shows and whatnot. From the rumors that have been spreading around lately, these lands are supposedly supposed to be something like a new Villains Land, Coco Land, as well as a clone of Radiator Springs Racers. But before any of that can happen, the first thing Disney will need to do is, again, close the Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer's Island. If you were to build the new lands beyond Big Thunder Mountain, behind the Rivers of America, it would be a logistical nightmare for guest flow. Unless you want guests to walk a literal mile from the Haunted Mansion around the Rivers of America and then into the new lands, there's no other way into and out of the land besides the pathway at Big Thunder Mountain, which creates a lot of crowd issues. Every new land Disney has built has at least 2 pathways built into them for optimal guest flow. Imagine if you only had one big path for potentially 3 to 4 new lands behind Big Thunder. Yeah, not fun at all. That's very bad. Basically gonna be Black Friday every single day. To relegate this issue, I think Disney will build their new expansion area where the Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer's currently are, either shrinking them down substantially or removing them entirely to make the land more easily accessible from other parts of the park. Jumping over to Hong Kong Disneyland, I think this is where we will hear our first news of the new Avengers e-ticket with King Thanos getting announced. I know everyone is eagerly waiting for Disney California Adventure to get their Avengers e-ticket ride, but I don't think many people know that both Hong Kong Disneyland and DCA are slated to receive the same attraction. On top of that, Hong Kong Disneyland has been waiting a whole lot longer than California Adventure for this ride. We in California have been patiently waiting for about 4-ish years for this new ride, while Hong Kong Disneyland has literally bulldozed its Autopia attraction to make way for this new Avengers ride over 8 years ago. For over 8 years, their Autopia has literally been an empty plot of land waiting to be built on. Okay, it's really bad. I really think if they're going to announce their new Avengers ride, just like Painted Night Parade, it will open in Hong Kong Disneyland first, and then later on at a later date will be announced for DCA. Moving on to the second Chinese park, Shanghai Disneyland, I don't really know what they're gonna do in this park. They recently opened their Zootopia area with a new ride and a lot of new animatronics, so I don't really know if anything major will be announced this year at D23. I haven't heard any rumors either, so I'm not too sure. Maybe new shows and more interactive animatronics for Zootopia will be added to the park, but overall, I don't think Shanghai Disneyland will get anything. I think this year for Shanghai Disney will be relatively quiet. This now brings us to Disneyland Paris Resort, and oh boy, we have a doozy with Disney's Adventure World, formerly known as Walt Disney Studios Park. This park is going to have a ton of announcements this year, since Disney has been slowly dropping concept art with little bits of information attached to it. This panel is where Disney is going to go over many of their new expansions in the works for Disney's Adventure World, like extra details for their new Adventure Bay, focusing on live entertainment and shops, the new World of Frozen Land, which is most likely going to be a copy or clone of the version that just recently opened in Hong Kong Disneyland, as well as a new land that is replacing what was supposed to be Galaxy's Edge. My prediction is that they will add a more fantasy-style attraction similar to what was done at Tokyo Disney Sea's Fantasy Springs in that new area, just on a much tighter budget. I think Disney's Adventure World will take up a pretty decent chunk of Horizon's presentation, since Disney has been keeping a lot of the information under the wraps over the last year. It would only make sense to reveal that information at D23. Moving on to the Disneyland Resort, I think this part of the presentation will by far be the longest, especially with Disney California Adventure. Just this year, Disneyland Forward was approved by the city of Anaheim, which means the surrounding area for the Disneyland Hotel and Pixar Pier Hotel is now a potential area for expansion for Disneyland and Disney California Adventure. My prediction here is that Disney will announce their new Avatar expansion based on the Way of Water for Disney California Adventure that uses a similar technology to the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Shanghai Disney. This is also where Disney will most likely announce their plans for the new shopping and dining area that is supposed to be built on the Toy Story parking lot, as well as the revitalization of the Eastern Gateway project, which includes a 7-story parking lot to make up for the lost Toy Story parking lot. It's a lot of parking lots. With this, they will also announce a new drop-off area, an Uber lot, as well as a new pedestrian bridge. This in turn opens up the area below Hollywoodland, leading to an additional expansion area for Disney California Adventure in the future. I also think this is where Disney is going to show off their plans for the rest of the downtown Disney, since 2 of the largest buildings in the area either sit abandoned or underutilized. I've seen some people saying that Disney plans to build a 3rd gate where the expansion area is for Disneyland and California Adventure, but I really don't think this is happening due to space and logistical reasons. There really just isn't enough space for another park in that area, especially when you really look at the plans and you realize part of the original plan for Disneyland Forward is now additional shopping locations, a bag check-in area, as well as a stage. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to build a theme park there now since there's a lot less space to work with. Coming back over to Disneyland, I think this D23 will be relatively quiet for the park. Just maybe a new fireworks show announced for the 70th anniversary, and maybe the return of Paint the Night. I really don't see Disney doing too much for this park, mainly because there's so much happening over in DCA. Now, I have heard a lot of people talking about rumors pointing to, a Tomorrowland refresh, but, I don't think there's going to be anything major, like bringing back the PeopleMover. Sorry, Dallin. I don't think many people know this, but the PeopleMover tracks are currently very important to Tomorrowland. Currently they are used for lights, Wi-Fi, ventilation, computer systems, speakers, and a whole bunch of other things. They are far from abandoned. Disney uses them way more than they were using them before, just for relatively other purposes. If a Tomorrowland refresh were to happen that included bringing back the PeopleMover, they would need to bulldoze the entire land and start from scratch, which is something I'm pretty sure Disney definitely does not want to do. Finally, let's move on to the last resort in the Disney roster, which is Tokyo Disneyland and Tokyo Disney Sea. Tokyo Disney Sea just came out of a massive expansion, which included a new hotel and 4 new rides for their Fantasy Springs. Disney is definitely going to brag about how amazing of a job they did at building this land, but because this was such a substantial expansion, I really don't think Disney is going to announce anything else for Tokyo Disney Sea until the next D23. As for Tokyo Disneyland though, I think this is going to be where we are going to be receiving a lot of new information about the new Tomorrowland revamp. This is where Disney will give additional information about their new Space Mountain attraction, which uses the same ride technology as Cosmic Rewind, as well as their new Wreck-It Ralph ride, which is replacing Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters. And last but not least, we have the Disney Cruise Lines. Since the American market is still Disney's most popular and profitable segment in their cruises, I think most of the presentation will be about the Disney Destiny, showing off new experiences that people can expect from shows and dining. The Destiny is going to be the first Disney cruise ship to be themed to Disney heroes and villains, something many Disney fans have been asking for many years, so it would make sense for Disney to make that ship their main focus of the panel. I think Disney will also take the time to go over new details regarding the Disney Adventure, Disney's largest cruise ship ever built, as well as the 4th Wish class specifically being built for the Japanese market, setting sail in 2030. Most likely, they'll be keeping the details about these ships very sparse, showing only concept art of various theme areas and entertainment, mainly because, again, I think the main focus here will be the Disney Destiny. I think possibly the next D23 in 2026 is where we're going to see more information about the Disney Adventure, as well as the new ship for the Japanese market. And that is my predictions for what Disney is going to do this year at D23. So made this video in a bit of a rush, so I'm sorry if I'm kind of slurring my words here and there. But what do you think Disney is going to do this year? Are you excited as I am to see the new things coming to the parks and cruise lines? Let me know in the comments down below.